Other than that, I nailed it. Hello and welcome to Everything's Fine, probably your weekly antidote to bad news. It's the show that rummages through the world's overflowing bin of despair looking for the one shiny marble that's somehow still clean. I was going to start this week with dodgy Nigel Farage's dodgy gifts from dodgy crypto dealers, which he dodgily doesn't declare, because apparently it's none of our business. Nige, you want to be PM? It is our business if people are giving you money that looks suspiciously like a bribe. And given the things you said on Cameo for a couple £100, what might you do for a few million? But I'm not going with that story. I'm going to talk about the World Cup. Not England's impressive win over Mexico, I'm afraid, but about something that has further soured a red card, which had kind of been soured enough already by referees and officials being blocked at immigration. It all started when USA striker Following Balogun was sent off after VAR upgraded a challenge on Bosnia and Herzegovina defender Tarik Muharremovich to a straight red. The referee decided it was serious foul play. Decision still stands. The red card is not overturned. So, you get a straight red, you miss the next game. Football has somehow muddled through this wildly complicated concept for over a century. But then, Donald Trump picked up the phone to FIFA, and FIFA reached for Article 27 of its disciplinary code. Now, if you've never heard of Article 27, congratulations on leading a balanced life. Basically, it allows FIFA to suspend certain disciplinary sanctions, like a get-out-of-jail-free card. So the red card still exists, the offence still exists, the referee was still right, but the punishment was put on probation for a year, leaving USA's top striker available to play in a knockout game against Belgium. Unprecedented, unfair, and then Belgium absolutely thumped them anyway. 4-1 after all that, which is objectively the funniest outcome possible and some brilliant news. So imagine, if you will, trying to explain this to future historians. So the President of the United States intervened in the disciplinary process of the FIFA World Cup. Did it work? Nope. Well, did it preserve the integrity of the tournament? Also no. So what did it achieve? Mainly a really awkward Tuesday. The whole thing raises a fairly fundamental question, I would suggest. Donald, mate, have you looked around your own country recently? You've got rising national debt, political polarisation, healthcare costs that require their own mortgage, housing affordability problems, gun violence, climate disasters, trade disputes, arguments with universities, arguments with scientists, arguments with judges, arguments with your own intelligence agencies, arguments with Canada, arguments with Mexico, arguments with wind turbines, arguments with the concept of facts. So maybe, just maybe, get through that to-do list before ringing FIFA about a striker. Well, it's a bit like your house being on fire and you're shouting at next door because they park slightly wonky. But who would have thought that the White House Situation Room now apparently includes Match of the Day? Somewhere there's a briefing note that begins, Mr. President, Belgium has scored again. Now, to be fair, failure has always been one of Donald Trump's core competencies. He managed to bankrupt casinos. Casinos, the one business model where customers literally arrive intending to hand you money. He had an airline that didn't take off, a university that wasn't really a university, steaks that disappeared, vodka that nobody drank, a social media platform whose biggest competitor is literally every other social media platform. So perhaps we shouldn't be surprised that he even failed at trying to influence a football tournament. If anything, Belgium should send him a thank you card. Nothing motivates a football team quite like being told they're the supporting cast in someone else's political photo opportunity. Of course, the story might not be over. As we record this, we're waiting for FIFA to announce that Belgium's 4 goals have themselves been suspended and can be used at any point in the next year at FIFA's discretion, once Donald's tempted them like a filthy old man offering sweet treats to children. Why does Trump conjure up that image in my head? Anyway, the score is therefore Belgium 0, USA 1, freedom wins. Hooray! And of course, we're also waiting for Donald Trump to announce on Truth Social that the World Cup was stolen. There were many illegal goals, many illegal goals. People are saying they've never seen so many illegal goals. The referees were biased, the Belgians were bussed in, The lines on the pitch were woke. The offside laws a deep state conspiracy. Seattle was actually in Brussels. And until anyone can prove otherwise, he'll be keeping the trophy. Trump said, incidentally, I'm a person that loves sports and was really good athlete, and I understand sports really well, really well. This is one of those bone spurs that saved him from the Vietnam draft, didn't get in the way of his athletic career, eh? Oh, incidentally, Donald, sexual harassment isn't a sport, just to be clear. The saddest thing about all of this is that football didn't need it. Nobody was talking about the tactics. Nobody talked about Belgium's brilliant performance. Nobody talked about one of the best knockout games of the tournament. Instead, everyone was asking why the governing body of world football put itself in this position in the first place. Football authorities across Europe questioned the decision, saying it risked undermining confidence in the competition's integrity. Hell, even Sepp Blatter thought it was a bad idea. Because sport runs on one very fragile currency. Not money, FIFA's got plenty of that, trust. Fans have to try their best to believe that the rules apply equally, whether you're in Brazil, Bolton Wanderers, or a Sunday League team from Basingstoke. Once people start questioning whether influence matters as much as the referee's whistle, you've got a much bigger problem than one striker missing or not missing one game. But of course, FIFA have never exactly been strangers to awkward questions. This is the organisation that's given us enough controversy over the decades to fill several museums, 2 Netflix documentaries, and at least one filing cabinet labelled absolutely nothing to see here. So I thought we'd celebrate that proud tradition with a quiz.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah,
Whoa.
this I have called FIFA's Dodgy Decisions Quiz, although their lawyers insist we call it a completely unrelated sequence of perfectly innocent historical coincidences.
No worries! Trump will make a call and fix it! Have no fear, U.S. soccer fans! The president is on the case! Anyone with eyes can see that Monday night's World Cup game was rigged! Team USA is winning 0-0! And then suddenly all these goals start coming in from Belgium! Bang, bang, bang! One after the other! Just like that! Very suspicious! But don't worry! Your favorite president is on the case!
So, Gemma, I know you're not a massive football fan, so I've tried to keep this reasonably straightforward and all that. So question number 1, which World Cup host nation was accused by critics of receiving remarkably favourable refereeing decisions on their way to lifting the trophy in 1934? Was it... Oh, go on, Stu, are you in there?
Oh, have we got options, have we?
We've got options. Would you like options?
I think
I like options.
I'm gonna go USA.
USA? Well, in 1934, was it A, Italy, B, Italy, or C, surprisingly, Italy?
Oh, well, Gemma, what do you think?
Well, I'm going to be honest, I had audio issues, so I didn't hear the options. I thought it was Italy. This is why I've got this weird cable from my head, because like nothing's
Yeah,
coming
no,
out
I
of my
like
head.
it.
Yeah, that's right. Woo.
Okay, well, the
That's
options
what
are
the kids
A, Italy, B, Italy, C, Italy. What do you think?
Oh, tricky. Should we go B?
Let's go for B. B, Italy.
I'm afraid it was A, Italy. So,
Oh,
but a
dear.
great guess. Anyway, yes, Italy handed the under highly suspicious circumstances. Let's not be partisan. Question 2, England 1966.
Okay.
Did Jeff Hurst's shot cross the line? A, yes. B, no. C, congratulations, you've just restarted the longest pub argument in British history.
Well, that's got to be C, isn't it? Because
Definitely.
it's been widely disputed, isn't it?
It certainly has. I mean, it's a host nation, yet again, getting the favourable decision, but who can say? Question 3. South Korea's run to the semi-finals in 2002 featured refereeing performances that still inspire YouTube compilations with titles like You Won't Believe This. Were they A, entirely uncontroversial, B, slightly contentious, or C, so baffling that Italian football is still scratching its head 20 plus years later?
I think it might be C again.
Sounds like C, doesn't it, Gemma? Sounds like C. Yeah, we'll go for that, C.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the 2002 World Cup, but South Korea, a team not noted for their footballing prowess, did surprisingly well in the tournament. Question number 4, England versus Germany, 2010 World Cup. If you remember this one, Frank Lampard absolutely wallops one from distance. The ball bounces about a yard over the line. The entire planet sees it. The TV cameras see it. The commentators see it. The German defenders see it. The bloke selling pies in row Z sees it. But who doesn't see it? Was it A, the referee, B, the assistant referee, or C, FIFA for another 2 years?
Well, see again, isn't it? I actually remember this one. I was with a friend watching it in a pub, and he was so furious, he just walked out. I think you might have been there, Jim. I'm not.
Yeah, we were in the coach and horses, weren't we?
Yeah, John was there, and he just turned and walked out. He didn't say goodbye, did he? Just
no, he was furious. And rightly, we've been 2-0 down. That would have equalised if we were to lose 4-1, I think.
Yeah.
The answer is actually all of the above.
Okay.
Because apparently goal line technology was considered a step too far. It existed, but football just preferred the exciting unpredictability of pretending everyone was hallucinating. Question number 5. Which organisation awarded the 2022 World Cup to a country with summer temperatures capable of gently roasting a goalkeeper? Was it A, FIFA, B, also FIFA, or C, an organisation that definitely didn't spend enough time asking, how will this look in 20 years' time?
What do you think, Gemma? Sounds like, should we try A this time? What do you think?
I think C sounds like it would cover this job quite nicely, but yeah, let's go A.
It was B, also FIFA. And finally, see if we can work this one out. Question 6. What is the most important thing in world football? Is it A, fair play, B, sporting integrity, or C, knowing where Infantino keeps the really interesting filing cabinet? The worrying thing is I had to leave loads out of this. The Hand of God, the Ghost Goal, 2002 referee and masterclass in interpretive whistleblowing, various World Cup winning scandals. I mean, FIFA's greatest tradition really isn't football.
So are you kind of suggesting that the World Cup may be rigged?
I mean, I wouldn't put it in such strong terms, but there are some baffling decisions, aren't there, along the way?
Yeah.
But,
should we go? We'll go C for that one.
Certainly, I'm not sure that FIFA have covered themselves in glory this week. And sad as it is, watching powerful organisations bend the knee to Mad King Donald, I've got a quick story about people who looked at all of that and said no. So Donald Trump's administration has discovered recently that scientists are incredibly stubborn. I mean, not always socially, maybe, but professionally. You can sack them, departments, delete the website, slash their funding. You can treat peer review as though it's an exotic European delicacy, but they still come back with their spreadsheets. And that's exactly what's happened. Thousands of scientists have been pushed out of federal agencies as the administration's cut climate research and environmental programs. And one of the casualties was climate.gov, the US government's running website, which explained climate science in plain English. Most people, when they lose their website, complain on Facebook for a bit. Climate scientists went out and built another one. Former staff from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration have launched an independent replacement called Climate.us, not funded by billionaires or backed by Silicon Valley, but funded by more than 2,500 ordinary donations to people who thought that maybe facts might be worth a few quid. I mean, you know you've gone too far when you've annoyed scientists so much they become entrepreneurs. Scientists don't want to start companies. They want to be left alone to measure clouds. But it's good news, this one, because the Trump administration have embodied pettiness so much these past 2 years, and this is just a great piece of petty coming right back at them. Trump's administration tried to get rid of climate information, so scientists make their own climate information with evidence, with errors bars. It's the nerdiest act of civil disobedience imaginable. The revolution will be peer-reviewed. Rebecca Lindsay, who helped run the project, said trusted climate information should not disappear when politics change. Nice and calm, but also devastating. Scientists have always had a terrible habit of running political arguments by insisting on measurements. I mean, it's deeply inconsiderate. How are people supposed to spread conspiracy theories if someone keeps arriving with data? And that's the good news. Not that climate change has magically gone away, sadly it hasn't, but that thousands of people have refused to let that knowledge disappear just because it was politically inconvenient to a big orange man baby.
Jim, you can prove anything with facts, right?
Well, that's what they tell me, Drew. I mean, the problem is that about 83% of statistics are just made up on the spot. Okay. God, I was good in that intro. Let's yet again turn our backs in disgust on America and focus on some news from mildly saner parts of the world. And Europe have been celebrating innovation with their Inventor Awards. So let's hear about that, shall we?
Yes.
So I only found out about this one like last week, and it happened last month, which is I feel like I'm very late to the party. But on the 4th of June,
You're always late, Gemma. It's your thing.
Not as late as she was this evening. On June the 4th in Valencia, in Spain, spotlight being put on human ingenuity. So on the 4th of June in Valencia, in Spain, was the European Inventor Awards. So let's dive into the breakthroughs that made headlines and warmed my little hopeful heart. First up, malaria. A disease that's been stealing lives for centuries. This year, one of the standout winners was the team behind a next generation malaria vaccine platform, a technology that stabilizes the parasite's proteins so the immune system can recognize and attack them more effectively. Their work builds on the momentum of recent global vaccine rollouts, but this innovation goes further. It's designed to be cheaper, easier to manufacture, more adaptable for regions with limited medical infrastructure. Next up, we've got another winner, which was in the world of logistics, but in a way that feels almost sci-fi. This year's winner developed a magnetic freight system that uses linear motors and magnetic levitation to move shipping containers with minimal friction. Imagine ports where containers glide silently along tracks powered by clean electricity instead of diesel engines. Imagine faster turnaround times, lower emissions, and safer handling. It's elegant, efficient, and a little bit mesmerizing to watch in action. This tech could reshape global trade in a way that's actually kinder to the planet, and that's a win in my book. And finally, another winner came this time from the category of research. There was a medical breakthrough that had the room buzzing, a novel antibody engineering method that helps the immune system target cancer cells with far greater precision. This innovation allows antibodies to bind more tightly and selectively to tumour markers, reducing side effects and improving treatment outcomes. It's the kind of innovation that makes oncologists sit forward in their chairs because it opens doors to therapies that are both more effective and gentler on patients. Each winner brought something extraordinary, not just clever engineering, but compassion, imagination, and a clear vision of a better world.
There's some excellent news there and a great celebration of human endeavour, showing what happens if we stay focused on important things and not waste our time interfering in things that are none of our goddamn business, eh, Mr. President? Oh, maybe someday.
Yeah.
But look, we can take time to make things better, not just for ourselves, but for other species on the planet. So tell me, would you, about how people have been helping bears this week?
Yeah, well, this is an update on Shelley's story from a few weeks ago. Hello, Shelley, if you're listening. Remember we talked about moon
She'd
bears?
better be.
Yeah, you better be. Do you remember moon bears?
Love moon bears.
Yeah, I remember moon bears.
Moon bear news. So there's 5 moon bears. They've been held in a bear bile farm, no less. I mean, you wouldn't want to take your kids to go and see that, would you?
A bear
That
bile.
Yeah, absolutely. That's in South Korea. It's been cleared by veterinary exports so it can transport these bears to Jimmy's Farm and Wildlife Park in Suffolk. Has anyone been there?
No, but I feel another little team outing coming up.
Yeah, and that one is doable, isn't it? Yeah, they've already got some there, I think, already. This is in partnership with the charity Space for the Wild. This is a part of a broader effort titled Bears Behind Bars, which, poor bears, this is horrible, isn't it? It's a campaign to get, obviously, these bears from the bar farms to a safer place. So following a recent legislative ban in South Korea on the breeding and possession of bears for bile extraction, organisations are working to relocate these bears that have spent years, in some cases, since 1998, confined to small cages. So bile farming has been legally phased out in the country. It's estimated that approximately 200 bears, though, remain in former farm sites. So the 5 bears selected for relocation, this represents the first group of moon bears to be brought to the UK from South Korea. And this has actually established a new international transfer corridor for animal conservation. The logistics of this 5,500-mile transit are significant. Jimmy's Farm and Wildlife Park is currently constructing a dedicated reserve for the arrivals. This is going to include specifically designed habitats and islands for their long-term welfare. Stevie Shepherd, director of the Wildlife Park, noted that while the veterinary clearance is a major milestone, a specific timeline for the arrival is not as yet confirmed. The project is currently dependent on the completion of some fundraising. So far the campaign has a financial goal of £200,000, but they still need £50,000. Sarah Dawson, Chief Operating Officer for Space for the Wild. So check them out and see if you can donate. Let's get these bears to the UK. Outlined the cost requirements involved in the operation. Because of the bears' history of poor health and the distance of the flight, the budget must cover specialised transport crates, international veterinary oversight, specialised flight personnel, and the technical infrastructure required for loading and unloading the animals safely. Jimmy Doherty, founder of the park, he stated that the objective is to provide these animals with a permanent sanctuary, allowing them to live in a natural environment after decades of confinement. So the Wildlife Park is providing ongoing updates, so you can check their website out as well. So that's Jimmy's Farm, regarding the bears' status and the progress of the habitat construction, their social media channels, so you can check them out right across those. So for those interested in details of the moon bears, so I said check Jimmy's Farm, also Space for the Wild. That's fantastic news. So, if they can get 5, that's a start, but there's still 200 of these bears stuck in cages in South Korea that need rescuing. So come on, let's save the moon bears.
Absolutely. So, and it's which is the site that people go on to donate, Stu?
So that's Space for the Wild,
Space for
or
Wild.
if you can go on Jimmy's Farm and Wildlife Park website, they need to raise another £50,000 at the 200,000 to start to get the first 5 bears over.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stu. Well, let's stick with good news for animals, shall we? Gemma, hit us with some lamb news, would you?
Lamb news I can do. Very short, very sweet. Okay, so slightly older lamb news. And when I say slightly older, like May this year, so not ridiculously old.
We've been busy with other things. It's all right.
Exactly, we've been very busy, and lamb news is sometimes it takes a little while to seep through. Anywho, a flock in Cumbria accidentally hotboxed themselves after breaking into a greenhouse and eating fermented compost. Farmers describe them as very relaxed and not in a hurry to leave. No harm, just vibes. And then the second one, because why have one piece of lamb news when you can have 2 pieces of lamb news? In Wales, 300 sheep caused a full road shutdown in June after escaping a hillside pasture and trotting into town like they owned it. The shutdown lasted for approximately 3/4 of an hour. Locals called it the fluffiest rush hour ever, with reactions ranging from applause, videos, and one man even offering them biscuits. The police statement read as, "No injuries, minor chaos." That is your lamb news.
Thank you. And I've not heard the phrase hotboxing before. Is that something that the youth like to do?
I'm going to go yes. Yes, it is.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Let's stick with animals. Let's go from air to the oceans next. I've got some ocean news. We love that, don't we? It's like regular news, only wetter. Despite humanity's best efforts, the sea's still busy doing magnificent things. We'll start with some genuinely brilliant news. The High Seas Treaty. You love this one, Stu. Edging ever closer to becoming reality. That's the international agreement designed to protect marine life in 2/3 of the ocean that belongs to, well, everyone. What historically is translated as no one. It's a bit like the office fridge. Everybody uses it, nobody cleans it. Anyway, a huge shout out this week to Comoros, who have become the latest country to ratify the treaty. So well done, Comoros. Population under 1 million, land area tiny, ability to get international environment agreements signed, apparently much better than ours.
Brilliant.
Because meanwhile, the UK still hasn't ratified it. Of course we haven't. We're currently doing the very British thing when the country's on fire administratively, and we're all standing around asking, so who's in charge? To which the answer is no idea. Check again in a fortnight. The UK government right now is basically a Windows update. Please do not switch off your Prime Minister. We've had so many leadership contests that the number 10 electing gets more hustings than a village hall. But while politicians are busy auditioning for Britain's next top caretaker, the ocean's been cracking on with some genuinely astonishing achievements. Because scientists have discovered, and I fully accept this sounds like a really bad movie rather than really good news, but they've discovered another walking shark.
What?
Let's just pause here. Evolution looked at a shark and's gone, you know what that needs? Legs.
Wow. Can it run? That sounds absolutely terrifying.
It really does, doesn't it? I mean, they're not proper legs. It's just enough to make Australians even less relaxed. And what I do realize, scientists have discovered a 10th species of walking shark off the coast of Papua New Guinea. It's called the Dudgeon walking shark. It's named after marine scientist Dr. Christine Dudgeon, who discovered it during a night dive and presumably immediately shat herself. I've got to ask, what sort of person goes for a nighttime swim looking for sharks and comes back with a brand new one? Marine biologists are a different species, aren't they?
Yeah.
I would only discover a shark by screaming.
Yeah, that sounds like the opening to Jaws, don't they? They have a nighttime swim, don't they, at the start?
That didn't go well, didn't it?
That didn't end well. So don't go swimming in the dark looking for walking sharks.
So, look, the good news about this is that walking sharks are actually adorable. Well, by shark standards. They're only about a metre long. They don't stride around the beach hunting tourists. They actually use their fins to shuffle across coral reefs, looking for crabs and little fish. They're like the corgi of the shark world. They're tiny, they're curious, they're occasionally found wandering somewhere unexpected. And look, I think it's wonderful. I do think we need to draw a line, though. Walking sharks, fine. Flying sharks, no, absolutely not. If evolution's listening, stop. Just stop. The less wonderful news is that this new species has been found in an incredibly small area, which means it's immediately vulnerable to habitat loss, overfishing, and climate change. All things, of course, that humans excel at. I mean, imagine only existing in one tiny postcode, and if someone builds a Tesco's, you're extinct. Fortunately, studies of other walking sharks suggest they respond really well to conservation, so scientists are heading back later this year to learn more, hopefully help protect it, which is why discoveries like this are so important, because you can't save something from the rampaging destructiveness of humans if you don't know it exists in the first place. And that's not all. Oh no, I have more unexpectedly optimistic news from beneath the waves. Because scientists have identified coral reefs in Jordan's Aquaba Marine Reserve that seem to be remarkably resistant to warming oceans. And that's quite exciting because coral reefs around the world have been having an absolutely dreadful time thanks to climate change. So finding reefs that seem unusually resilient is a bit like discovering one laptop battery that somehow still lasts all day. Everyone wants to know how. So UNESCO is now considering giving the reserve World Heritage status, which can only be a good thing because these corals aren't just staggeringly beautiful. They can also help scientists to understand how reefs survive in warmer seas and provide a blueprint for saving reefs elsewhere. So here's a little lifestyle tip for your listeners. The secret to healthy living is to live in Jordan rather than in the comments section on Facebook. So that's the ocean, providing better news than FIFA. Let's change things up now and bring in some sciencey type news. Stu, let's go back over to you.
I want to talk about understanding neurodiversity in older adults. So I took this article from The Guardian. It's quite interesting. In recent years, diagnostic landscape for neurodivergent conditions, especially autism, ADHD, has expanded significantly. So whilst focus has historically been directed towards children and young adults, clinicians and researchers are increasingly identifying a neglected generation. This is adults over the age of 60 who have remained undiagnosed throughout their lives. Estimates suggest a significant diagnostic gap. Some reports are saying it's as high as 90% of people with ADHD or autism not actually identified. So research indicates that a vast majority of autistic individuals in this age group have not received a formal diagnosis. This disparity often stems from historical gaps in clinical understanding and the tendency for older individuals to adopt a lot of compensatory strategies, often referred to as masking, so that they can navigate social and professional expectations. So as this age group now is sort of transitioning into retirement, combined with potential changes in health and social support structures, research has shown their effectiveness for coping diminishes when you get older. So the strategies they used when they were younger to mask become harder as people become older because of sort of the effort it takes, such as the routine of work. When that structure is disrupted, then you start to get neurodivergent traits that become more pronounced or difficult to manage. And whereas sort of family members then start to feel older members are awkward or difficult, this could be undiagnosed ADHD or autism, which for years they've just been masking. So for many seeking a diagnosis in later life, it's not really about just obtaining a label. Experts, including Dr. Louise Rutter and Dr. Neil Drew, they've highlighted that identifying neurodivergence in older adults can provide validation. So that's a formal explanation for their lifelong experience. And sometimes where they've been in a workplace or a friendship group where they've often felt misunderstood, this can actually help them understand what they were actually having to navigate and still are. So that comes down to understanding. So the resolution regarding perceived difficulties in social and professional environments as they get older, and also increased clarity that can foster deeper empathy and communications with families. So if somebody is diagnosed later on in life and the family understand it, rather, as I said, people feeling that those family members are awkward or difficult, if they then understand that they have this diagnosis, then that can be approached with empathy rather than maybe sometimes hostility or frustration. So supporting a parent or older relative doesn't require immediate clinical intervention, but it's about establishing an environment that respects neurodivergent needs. This can be done through supportive measures, such as talking to an older relative who may feel, with the new level of awareness of neurodivergence, that if they feel they may have had it or have got symptoms, talking to them about it. So checking in with them and managing the environments that you spend time with them in. So talk to your sort of parents if they feel they don't like noisy places or they feel like they don't like to break their routine. Rather than see that as them being awkward or difficult, talk to them about it, and between you all pick out spaces that they feel comfortable and you feel comfortable, and this will actually improve your relationship. But obviously, if you do wish to seek an individual diagnosis, obviously with your parents, sort of how do you go about it? Well, the first steps are typically to maybe speak to their GP. You can go with them, or you can just have a general chat with them with their permission. And, that can provide an initial screening and facilitate a referral if needed. So it's a collaborative thing. It's about opening up that conversation. There is a generational gap in, for instance, this generation have identified that, if you have ADHD or autism, you should have equity in the workplace and in the social environment, but that should also extend to people sort of over 60 and 70s. So ultimately, identifying neurodivergence in later life is a process centered on authenticity. So even if you haven't got the formal diagnosis, it's about sharing that information with your parents and then finding an area or a way to enjoy them, to give them quality of life, and then all the family enjoying, the next sort of few decades of life. It's a really interesting sort of research piece, which hasn't really had much investigation as yet. You've probably had these older adults walking around in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, and often classed as eccentric perhaps, or a bit difficult or a bit odd. But, these people didn't have diagnosis, and, they've effectively just been masking all their life. Reach out to your older family and parents and have that discussion.
Brilliant, thanks, John. I mean, this was a little bit of what we talked about last week with Mitch Benn, wasn't it?
Absolutely, because he was later in life, wasn't he? And he's sort of like in his sort of 50s. And I think there is this thing now, isn't it, where it's becoming easier to speak to your doctor about your children if they're displaying traits and so on. And I just think, as Mitch said, it just opens up the whole question of, well, hang on, I've been masking or struggling all my life. Actually, this all makes a bit of sense now. It's a good thing. And, I think even Mitch Benn said, didn't he, he's not looking for a label as such. It just explains a lot, doesn't it? It explains why you felt a certain way throughout your life. I think it's an important area. And I think it's an area that's often missed, isn't it, in the older generations?
Yeah, sad. I think you're right. Good stuff. Thanks, Stu. Good. I'll go in that sort of sciencey vein now. I've got some encouraging medical news. Scientists in Sweden have begun looking at the relationship between diet and dementia. And the results are actually really encouraging on this. They followed nearly 1,900 people over the age of 60 for up to 15 years. And they looked at blood markers that could indicate a higher biological risk of Alzheimer's disease alongside what people actually ate. And what they found was that people eating a more anti-inflammatory diet appeared less likely to develop dementia, even among those who already had biological signs suggesting they were at higher risk. Now, before the Daily Mail starts printing broccoli cures Alzheimer's, that's not what the study says. Only a moron would think that, and he's too busy on the phone to FIFA. This is a link, all right? It's not proof of cause and effect. Scientists are wonderfully irritating like that. They spend 15 years collecting data and then ruin everyone's headline by saying further research is required. Honestly, scientists are the only people who can discover something genuinely exciting and still sound apologetic for it. But what the researchers are basically saying now, they found another piece of the puzzle. The newspapers here ban birthday cake, and before you know it, Jamie Oliver's all over it. Now, I have to admit, I read the study. I immediately did what I guess you're doing and probably everyone listening just did. I started mentally negotiating. Anti-inflammatory diet.
Yeah.
Does that include pizza?
What?
What about if I put rocket on the pizza? How much rocket does it take before it actually becomes medicine? I mean, on the plus side, my body's already 90% olive oil, but unfortunately it's the stuff the chippy changes every Thursday. But apparently diets rich in fruit, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, healthy fats all performed well, which means my own diet currently resembles the control group in a warning label. I buy a family-sized bag of crisps, and I have to acknowledge that family is me. The fascinating bit of the research is the blood test. Scientists can increasingly spot biological signs associated with Alzheimer's years before symptoms appear, and that's incredible. I'd love to know exactly what my biomarkers are measuring. Memory? Fine. Blood pressure? Acceptable. Contains approximately 14 kilograms of Jaffa cakes. I do love the honesty of scientists, though. At no point do they say this diet prevents dementia. They say it may reduce risk. That's science, tiny, careful steps. If this had been a wellness influencer, they'd already be selling a £79 smoothie subscription called Brain Blast, with a free PDF entitled Why Doctors Hate This One Weird Lentil. The good news is this has nothing to do with perfection. Nobody's saying never have chips or cake or a fry-up, thank goodness, because we're British. If they outlawed beige food, we'd have to close at least 3 counties. It's just another reminder that lots of little things seem to matter. Move a bit, sleep a bit, eat a bit better. Your brain appears to appreciate the effort, which is nice of it. Because mine spent the last 20 years trying to remember why I went upstairs and then immediately forgetting why I came down again. Let's wrap things up, shall we? Any other business, anyone?
Where can you buy this Brain Blast?
I wouldn't buy anything recommended by an influencer, basically. But yes, it's fine.
I mean, you talk about that diet there. I mean, that just sounds like the Mediterranean diet, doesn't it? And they've been living for years and well for a long time, haven't they? And I guess it's like most things in your body, isn't it? Most food inflames, doesn't it? As soon as you eat, your body becomes inflamed. So the more you can do not to have that situation, small steps, maybe have half a pack of the family crisps then, Jim. How about that?
I didn't know that was possible. I don't know if anyone's had the chance to read Ultra Processed People.
No. Is that about this sort of thing, is it?
It's about why we eat stuff that isn't food,
Yeah.
basically. Excellent read.
Yeah.
It's been out for quite a while now, available through lots and lots of outlets. Yes, Ultra Processed Food. It's by Chris Van Tullikin, and well worth.
Why do we? Is it because we're sold to? Is it we're influenced, we're manipulated to eat
Well,
these?
that's not largely what the book sets out to explore, is
Right.
why on earth we do this. And a chunk of it is because it's cheap, because it's easy, because
Yeah.
it tastes good, because of the
Yeah.
amount of things that's put into it. A lot of it is designed to be addictive, so we keep going back to it. And it's incredibly bad for us because it's not even stuff we're supposed to put into our bodies in the first place.
Okay, let's all buy some broccoli.
Good stuff. Right, any other business?
Did you hear about the rubber ducky?
No, what's
Did
this
I
about the
hear
rubber ducky?
about the rubber ducky? I mean, it's an interesting opening, Gemma. No, tell me about the rubber ducky.
Let's hear about the rubber ducky.
So an artist whose first name I'm not going to attempt to say, but their surname is Hoffman. I can cope with that one.
Excellent, well done.
F. Hoffman created an 18-foot, no, not 18 foot, I've undersold it, 18-meter high rubber duck that's been floating around European harbours. And on one particular little adventure to Antwerp harbour, it accidentally blocked in a billionaire's yacht from leaving.
Oh, poor billionaire.
About 20 minutes, which caused the crowd to cheer for the duck, as they would.
Excellent. Would this be Florentin Hoffman by any chance?
Yeah, that would be it. That little rogue J there made me doubt how to pronounce it. But yes.
Where's rubber ducky going next? Is it coming to England?
I knew there would be follow-up questions.
Well, I'd quite like to.
And
I'd quite
I didn't
like to
research it.
I'd quite like to see it. I'm going to check it out. Rubber ducky then in Antwerp. I'm going to have a look.
Yeah,
check it out. I think this is lovely life affirming proof that people just don't like billionaires. So well done on Mr. Hoffman there for his giant rubber duck. Well done to everyone who pointed and laughed at the billionaire as well. Could I just take a moment to appreciate what might be the most gloriously pointless news story of the week? And it was picked up by so many news sources as well. The BBC, The Guardian, Sky News, The Independent, among others. So Pizza Express have revealed that following the infamous Woking alibi from the 2019 Newsnight interview, they actually conducted an internal investigation into whether the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew had ever been there. So they spoke to former staff, they looked through the records they still had, but they found no evidence that he was there. No evidence that he wasn't, which means this investigation established absolutely nothing, but somehow made the national news. Anyway, news breaking tomorrow. Blockbuster Video are unable to confirm whether I rented Shrek 2 in 2005, and HMV are still no closer to establishing where I put my copy of Now That's What I Call Music number 7. But yeah, please are keeping an open mind.
Oh, I've got some breaking news. Nigel Farage, he's resigned, hasn't he, tonight?
Has he?
Yeah, he's just resigned. So he's gonna restand in Clapton. But all the other parties have now said they're not going to put any candidate up. He stood down because he basically saying, right, you all keep going on about the bribes and the money and so on. So if you do want me, then I'll resign, but I'll restand. And if you think that's okay, you can re-elect me. So he's called by-election. As it is tonight, what I've just heard is all the other parties said they won't put anyone forward. That's quite an unusual situation, isn't it?
A very unusual situation. I mean, right now, Nigel Farage is the most damaged he's ever been in his political career. This is a great time to kill him off.
I think the other parties are basically trying to make him look absolutely foolish, because if they're not standing against it, then he's got no by-election. I think what they don't want to do is for him to use it as a mini general election. Just as we joined tonight, I did hear Count Binface has said that he will stand. So
Binface.
Wouldn't that be a turn up for the books? If it came down to Nigel Farage and Count Binface, no, that is a by-election I could get behind.
I don't think that would be a foregone conclusion by any stretch. Well, that is exciting.
So there we are, breaking news on the 7th of July, straight in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Stu. Well, on that note, I think that's probably enough good news for 1 week. We don't want to overdo it. There's only so much optimism the human body can safely absorb before you accidentally start smiling at strangers. So huge thanks to Gemma and to Stuart. And thank you all for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please do the podcast thing, subscribe, follow, leave us a review, tell your friends, tell your enemies. I mean, frankly, in the current state of the world, they probably need cheering up even more. If you'd like to get in touch, send us your good news stories, your weird discoveries, ridiculous headlines, or examples of humanity somehow doing something competent. Next week, though, we've got something just a little bit special. Joining us will be comedian, author, broadcaster, and professional collector of catastrophically bad ideas, Tim Fitzhyam. If you've never come across him before, imagine someone had heard the phrase, "That seems a bit far-fetched," and replied, "Just give me a bath in half an hour." This is a man who's rowed a bathtub across the English Channel, paddled a paper boat down the Thames, broken multiple world records, written books, hosted Radio 4 shows, presented television programmes, appeared in films, become a Fellow of the Royal Geographical Society, and somehow concluded that the logical next step was to spend an hour talking to us. So make sure you subscribe, because next week's episode is going to be enormous fun. So until then, look after yourselves, look after each other, and remember, the news might be terrible, but as long as Donald Trump isn't trying to fix things in your favour, then everything's fine. Probably.
No worries! Trump will make a call and fix it! Have no fear, U.S. soccer fans! The president is on the case!